Tim Niemeyer. Today I have a special guest. I have Shannon Beyer from Columbus Bitcoin Meetup. Shannon, thank you for joining me.
Oh, good to see you, Tim.
So, like I said, Shannon and I actually met in Miami at last year's Bitcoin conference, and Shannon was very pivotal to my growth and helping promote my book, History Echoes Bitcoin. He had me as a guest over at his meetup in Columbus at River Financial. And just to give you a little bit of a backstory, so, I'm co-host of Lincoln Land Bitcoin here in Springfield, Illinois, in the middle of a cornfield. We get together at like a local wine shop, and there's like 5 or 10 of us. And I hadn't been to too many other meetups. I went to St. Louis and everything. And then when I got invited to go to Shannon's, like this meetup blew my mind. It blew out of the water the expectations of what a meetup could be. And with the help of River Financial. And as you guys will find out, Shannon here, he's really humble. And I mean, that's the right way. You got to share the love. But the reason I have you on, Shannon, is I really want to get to know everything you've learned, insights into not just making a meetup successful, but, what are people coming in looking at? What are they interested in? How have you learned how to help them best? But before we get into any of that, I want to go back. Obviously, you haven't always been in Bitcoin. Shannon, if you could kind of start us off, like your pre-Bitcoin journey, what led you to Bitcoin?
Okay, it's kind of a twofold answer. Back like in the housing crisis, like 2009, I had a company that we did residential construction, and it was greatly affected by that. So at that moment in time, I went through some financial hardships, but then started looking not really for an answer, but I wanted to understand what happened. As far as like, why did the money dry up? What happened to rates? Just the reason for the crash. So I was interested in that. Then fast forward to about 2016, and I had heard about Bitcoin before, but never really got interested in it. But 2016 is when I started, and I didn't understand it. I don't think anybody understands it when I bought some number go up, right?
Sure.
And I learned you could mine Bitcoin. And me and a good friend of mine, we were talking about purchasing some miners to start mining it just to see what happened. Still didn't understand anything at all, like macro about Bitcoin. So I forget when it was. It was probably, I think it was in December, but like December, like 2016. Got a friend having a bachelor party in Vegas. So I'm down in Vegas, and it's 11 o'clock at night. It's a guy's trip in Vegas.
Nice.
And I go to take some money out of the ATM, and basically they tell me no. Sorry, we can't help you now. Contact us in the morning, and we'll get it sorted out. So, guys' night, 11 o'clock's early still in Vegas. That kind of really upset me when I had more than enough money than I was asking for to take out. It was my money. I was using a PIN number. It wasn't like I was traveling around with a credit card running it up. And that really, really left a bad taste in my mouth. So I had to borrow some money from a friend, get it worked out in the morning, pay him back. So anyway, we get back from the trip, and going to go through with this miner purchase. So here it is now. It's a Saturday. It's probably 2:30 in the morning. I work a normal schedule, but on the weekend, I'm kind of a night owl. And we go ahead and pull the trigger. So 2:30 in the morning. It's 2016. China's the big bad guy. And I'm able to send about 15 grand worth of Bitcoin to some company in China that I don't even know in the middle of the night. And no one can say nothing. It was just a transaction that just happened. And to me, that was how it should be with your money. I should be able to do whatever I want with it. If I want to put it on a table and light it all on fire. That's my choice.
Right.
So I got sold on Bitcoin just by being in control of my finances. And that's what started me down a much deeper rabbit hole that it was deeper than I could ever imagine.
So that's 2016. So I'm thinking back. See, I was class of 2018. Like it already come down and leveled off at about 6,000.
Yeah.
I buy right there, and then it goes down to 3,000, and I'm like, what? But my question to you then is like 2016, a few years before me. In 2018, I had like Andreas Antonopoulos, and I had a few others starting to come out, and I think that's right around the time the Bitcoin standard. It might have been, was that 18 or 19?
Yeah, I think it was probably
Is
about your time.
but before that, like you say, obviously nobody knows about it, and no, and we also don't know what we don't know. It's like all those other things around Bitcoin, like you said, macroeconomics, like who takes time to study that until you get into Bitcoin? What were the things? What were the educational pieces that you found back then? Because I assume back then there's not much at all.
Um, if you really dug, and to start with, I wouldn't say I was focused enough to just look at Bitcoin because there was so much noise. And it was everything from to the ICO explosion where everybody had an answer for problems that don't exist, or it was just pure vaporware or just a white paper. So all those were coming out. So it was very, very noisy. I think a lot of people in that time, myself included, that you kind of missed the boat. You may have bought something and did some trading, and that worked out great for you because the ICOs had huge exponential gains. But at the end of the day, you can look and see where they're all at now. They're, outside of like
Yeah,
Ethereum and maybe one other, they're all just nothing. So I
I'm here.
found getting on Twitter was probably the most helpful thing I think any Bitcoiner could ever do.
Absolutely. So that I had a similar experience with a lot of shitcoining, and luckily I didn't lose my shirt in that, but I learned a lesson. And what I'm hearing from you is like pain is the best teacher. You have to go through a lot of those lessons. Like every cycle, there is some wolf in sheep's clothing, some magic pill, something that will draw you away from the signal, some noise that will draw you away from the signal, and having to go through those lessons is kind of how by what's the phrase, by subtraction, having to check out all these different things and realizing, oh, that's not the right war of attrition, I guess is the way to say it. That's kind of how you started to learn.
Um, yeah. I went 100% Bitcoin in probably right after the bull of 2017. Throughout the bear market, that's when I did real. Um, they say do your own research, but
Mm-hmm.
that was some real work. And out of all of that, I wish that like people now, they say things about Micah Saylor, like good things and bad things, but I wish someone was there like that when I started.
Like outside of Andreas, who was there? Not, I mean, besides Bitcoin
The
Jesus
biggest one
or
I could think of was probably McAfee. I mean,
really.
and yeah, and and he is what he is. But I mean, uh, like if you would just go through and get rid of the altcoin talk that he did, but if he had talks that were just specifically on Bitcoin, they were really resonating and made sense at the time.
So,
But
so then after that, and when did Columbus Bitcoin start?
that started about 3 years ago, just
Okay.
under 3 years. So the first year was really just kind of building a base and seeing if you nothing was really planned, so to speak. But after a year, you can begin to make plans as to what you would like to do with it, or if you want to grow or just keep the same.
So you started out more of as a meet and greet, have some drinks, just talk, right? Whatever the topic
Yeah,
is.
totally. There was 6 people showed up to the very first one. Of the 6, 3 are still there, and 2 have moved out of town, and the other one was only there for that one meetup.
Okay.
So yeah, and it was just meet at a bar. It's called a 16-bit. It's just a arcade that serves drinks, and they have a large seating area. So we just sit around and talked about Bitcoin a little bit.
Let me is was it Wilbur? Is Wilbur one of the original?
Yes.
Shout out to Wilbur. I had fun. He's a fun guy. Remember meeting him down in Miami also. Um,
Yeah, he
okay.
paid for that night pretty badly.
Oh
That you
man.
met him.
That was a fun time. And I got to meet a lot of my heroes and got, had the fanboy thing going on and
Oh, totally.
yeah. Um, so see, that's funny because Columbus or Bitcoin and Lincoln Land Bitcoin started different. Being an elementary teacher, I always got crap from my guys that I would show up with like a 70-page slideshow, and like today we're going to learn about this, and that actually led the way for the first year of ours. And since then, we've flipped and gone more to the just meet and greet and whatever's on anybody's mind. So that's interesting. It doesn't have to be, one way. Did you ever
Uh,
go to? Go ahead.
oh no, but I think what you're doing, like maybe now that you have this base of people built, then start to filter that back into it. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've tried that or not, because you do have. It's great to come meet people that like Bitcoin, want to talk Bitcoin, just for them to get it off your chest and for yourself as well. But then, like after a while, they do crave the normal conversation, but they also it gives them some value to take back home with them.
Yeah. Did you ever go to other local meetups around your area? I'm pretty sure Cleveland has one. Um, Cincinnati.
No, I haven't. I'll be doing that on April 20th. Cleveland's having a halving party, so I'll be
Yeah.
checking that out for the first time
Nice.
then.
Nice. Yeah. I've been to St. Louis's and or St. Charles, and I plan on going back there, when the school year gets over. But I also know Julian up in Chicago. Uh, they got some good stuff going on up there. So yeah, shout out to the weekly huddle there. Um, yeah, I'm looking to branch out. I'm looking to see what other people have because I mean that's how we learn best is by checking with others. So you started out meet and greet, and now when did River Financial come in? Because I really feel that marriage, that relationship that you have with them really helps you guys not just legitimize but really step up the game in terms of like education.
Oh, definitely. That they came to town a little over 2 years ago, and for the first, I don't know, maybe like about 7 months, they were here, but it was just strictly like an office. They didn't have like additional seating, furniture, or anything. It was a workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And we had contacted them about doing something, and they were interested in it, but they were like, "Let us get back to you when we're actually
Up and
completely
running.
set up."
Sure.
So one of the people that come to our meetups, he was helpful in this. I'll give him a shout out. Vinny Party.
Oh yeah.
Um, he basically, I'm gonna wrap him in a nutshell real quick, but he had his own successful like a small mining operation he was doing, and when River decided they were going to start offering mining hosting for their clients,
Mm-hmm.
they had a position open, so he applied for it, and he's the director of the mining operations now. So he
Nice.
went from our meetup to being the director, mining operations.
Was he one of your original
And
six?
no, but he was there maybe like on the second or third meetup.
Okay, cool.
Like I said, it grew pretty quickly. Not necessarily in numbers, but as the people that are still around today.
Yeah.
And like I said, once he got there, he
You
kind of
got
helped
high,
push that through.
you got higher lows, right? There's always going to
Oh
be higher
yeah,
highs,
yeah.
but you always have that higher low. That's awesome. Well,
Um,
good for Vinny. That's awesome.
yeah, so he helped out a lot with that. And like I said, once we got in there, we had gone from basically just doing this social thing where we sit around, have some drinks, some food. Now we have like a venue, so to speak. We have a big, nice open place, and decided to really try to take advantage of that. And like I said, for the first time, and like I said, a lot of this is just being fortunate because we had, let's see, at that moment in time, we had Vinny, who just started working at River a few months ago. Um, and then we fortunate enough to have another gentleman named Andrew Birchwell. He runs the Ohio Blockchain Council, which they
Yeah.
deal with people like Dennis Porter for regulations and stuff like that. And then we have another amazing guy, Austin Mitchell, which he's
Hmm.
the founder of Sonoda.
Yeah, and I remember meeting
And
Rob there. Rob from Sonoda.
yeah, Rob Barkley's
Okay,
amazing.
great guy. Yeah.
His work, like I could listen to him talk about just his work history forever. And
Oh,
and you will if you sit and talk with him.
oh no, I remember talking about Enron, and that just blew my mind. His insights from that. But go ahead, go on.
Oh, no, so we didn't reach out yet or have any speakers or anything, but we had like these amazing people that were kind of in the industry already. So we just set up basically like a panel, and our first meetup at River was just a panel with Vinny, Austin, and Andrew, and it was just some like basic softball questions, and then if the audience had any questions, and that kind of went over really well. And then from there, we just kind of we're able to do one once a quarter. So we just kind of build out from there, planning because it's not the I like where I live, but it's not the easiest sell to try to get someone to come here to Columbus, come to Ohio. Everybody wants to escape it supposedly according to the internet, but come here. So but it's worked out really well.
Hey y'all, are you new to Bitcoin? You looking for a way to safely and securely store your Bitcoin? Check out the Bitcoin Advisors. These Bitcoiners are professionals that will provide you peace of mind so you can sleep soundly at night knowing your Bitcoin is safe. Remember to tell them Zoom Out sent you. That's awesome. So, you start getting people in. I guess my question now, I'm being selfish here. Like, how do you get people? Like, well, first of all, Columbus, what's the population there?
I
Roughly.
think at the city itself, it's about 1 million, a little under, and then like the metro area, it's close to 2.5.
Yeah, because we're at like 150,000 here in Springfield. So, there obviously numbers are going to be a little skewed there.
Yeah, it's big enough that it's you can enjoy city aspects. I live out right outside of Columbus because I don't enjoy city life.
Nah.
Um, but it's not so big. Like I've lived in New York and like Atlanta, like bigger cities, and I want nothing
Mm-hmm.
to do with it.
No. Same. So, so how do you? So you advertise, I assume, just the regular social media channels.
Yeah, just the only advertising is on Twitter and meetup.com. That's
Okay.
about it. Probably would be more successful if I branched out to do the whole TikTok and uh,
Get up
Facebook and
there
all
and
that. But
get up there and do a
there's only
dance.
so much you can do.
No.
There's only so much time.
Right. Right. So, if I assume you get a lot of newbies coming in, a lot of people just brand new, kind of like, what is it? What's going on? Um, if kind of let's switch gears a little bit. If you could like give it from everything that you've kind of learned and experienced from other people's learning, because you get to sit there and watch them learn in real time, right?
Yeah.
Like it. Well, have you developed like a Bitcoin pitch just to kind of help them just see the very big beginning of it? Because like it's like that elephant. If somebody's looking at the tail, they're going to describe it differently than somebody looking at an ear or whatever. But to really just kind of get them to start to see that there's more than just this little number go up asset kind of thing.
Yeah, well, see, like the number go up thing is what usually brings everybody. There's probably is some like freedom libertarian almost militia type people that might get into it just to give the finger
Defund
to
the
the
state.
government.
Yeah.
Yeah, but number goes up is what kind of gets everybody. But they are seeing like number goes up on just like I did when I got into it, on everything else that's in the space. Whether that's NFTs or ordinals or these meme coins or whatever. So I kind of look at it from the point where I talk to them kind of like on their level,
Hmm.
in the sense that I give my reasoning behind why I believe Bitcoin and what I believe Bitcoin will be, as opposed to their reasoning is I just want to make money. I want to make like a 2x on doo coin or whatever it is. And that's pure gambling. And I look at it, well, if I'm right, well, let's put it this way: if you're right and I'm wrong, you're gonna make 2 or 3x on this stupid junky coin you bought. If I'm right and you're wrong, which I believe in the end, Bitcoin becomes sound money, replaces everything, or everything's backed by it to that point of view. If I'm right and you're wrong, and something were to happen where, I don't know, there's some type of economical disaster, a financial crash, some giant black swan event that totally could happen, happens tonight, do you really think tomorrow you would have time to wire money or sign up for an exchange, wire money to the exchange, and then make a sizable purchase of Bitcoin before the price is astronomically way beyond where it is now? And you do not, I mean, sometimes in the Bitcoin price swings, you don't have 2 minutes to act on it when it starts going. So if it were to go in a black swan event, you may be locked out or priced out.
So it's that insurance. It's a mixture of like not just number go up, but the insurance aspect of it. Like I've heard it described. I can't remember who that. What's the percentage chance you believe that, like for example, the U.S. government can default? Whatever that percentage is, you should have at least that much in Bitcoin. Similar.
Yeah, it would be better to at least have some of it and never touch it than to need some of it and not be able to afford it.
Yeah. Hashtag get off zero. Right.
Get off zero. Yep.
I love it. I love it. And that's also similar to almost like Pascal's wager without getting like too deep, like with religion. Like if you're wrong, you're way wrong. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, all right. I dig that. I dig that. And that's a really good way to go because it really gets, kind of lights the fire under them to be like, wait a minute.
At least gives them
What?
something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know there's a lot of noise. We talked about all the meme coins. We talked about all the NFTs and all the ordinals or whatever. And whatever your stance is on that, I'm fine with it. We all make our bed and have to sleep in it, right? Um, but there's more to why most people won't look into it, or like what's holding them back from at least learning a little bit about it. In your experiences, what do you see as the one of the or the biggest barriers, to people not getting into Bitcoin, or at least learning about it,
Not getting into Bitcoin, or
or at
is that?
least learning about or at least learning about it?
I think they're just really complacent and lazy, and like I said, I like people with a different definition, like individual people. I love the masses of people. I could do without. They're just collectively. People are just collectively ignorant and borderline stupid. I mean, to not throw stones at them, but really, because I mean, and one thing with Bitcoin is, I will probably get some hate for saying this, but I think Bitcoin adoption is not going to come from the consumer, but it'll have to come, I believe, from the merchant. Just because I don't think people are going to do it on their own. And because I can go to like a gas station, buy a drink, walk up to the counter, they scan it, and I can literally tap the kiosk with my card. and that happens in a second. I mean, lightning's fast. I love it, but tapping a card and then my payment, as far as I'm concerned, is done. I know a lot of things happen on the back end, but as far as my user experience, it's not going to get much easier than that. I mean, Lightning, you're still scanning with your phone, or if you have it like an NFC chip, it's tappable.
Yeah,
But
you could
like that,
put a chip in your hand. I'm joking. Anyway.
um, but as far as just that convenience, Bitcoin's not. I don't see it really competing with it. It's too quick and easy for a consumer to use.
Okay.
But on the other hand, from a merchant level, as a merchant, if you're able to save money by not dealing with the processing fees of credit cards and stuff like that, um, as far as a merchant goes, they really don't care a whole lot about the consumer experience. I mean, I don't know if you've been to like a fast food place or anything like that lately, but you're or like a Lowe's or a Walmart, even grocery shopping. I mean, you're scanning it all yourself. You're checking it out yourself.
Right.
You're ordering your food yourself, and then you pay for it by yourself. So like it tacks on a couple seconds or a slight inconvenience during that process. I don't think they really care anymore. So if they can save money by making you use Bitcoin instead of dollars, um, I think that's a good possible route towards adoption by forcing the people to use Bitcoin.
And oh God, I'm going to butcher this, but I want to say Parker Lewis and Will Cole with Zapright. Uh, so you know how they'll say either you like get a discount if you use Bitcoin. You know how certain places have that.
Mhm.
I think they're switching it to saying, correct me if I'm wrong, putting a premium on fiat. you know,
Yeah,
uh, as opposed to kind of flipping the script, so to speak, to kind of point out that like, hey, I don't want this. If you want me to use that kind of money, from a merchant's perspective, that is right.
yeah.
Um,
I even heard that I don't have firsthand proof of this, but someone was telling me like a lot of places like grocery stores, when you're checking out, they always offer like would you like a cash back, when
yeah,
using like your card. And the only reason they do that is because they eliminate cash out of their drawer because it costs them money to basically accommodate the cash with going to the bank. I don't know the exact, he told me then, but I kind of forgot since then. But it was the more money that they have on site, the more it costs them basically in dealing with that problem of having the cash.
jeez, there's so many problems with that. Like, there's local places. I mean, kind of off of your point, but there's so many local places around here that won't that have to do cash only, or they think in their mind, I have to be cash only because of the processing fees. But then that adds in more risk because now they're holding cash on site. You know what I mean? So you have
Yeah,
that problem also. Um, and I like your idea going from the merchants, because there are stores that I go in where it is cash only, but they'll have an ATM over there. Well, it makes it worse for the consumer. Now I have to pay a fee to get money out of the ATM, bring
yeah,
it back over. It adds so much to the experience. And it's like, and as a, you know, meetup co-host, I, and also, I try and do stuff with Lightning adoption. I'll go in and I'll talk to them. I'll talk to these merchants and be like, hey, do you like uh, having to hold cash on site? Do you like having to have your customer have a lesser experience by walking over there? Do you like chargebacks? All these things. And obviously, I get the answers I want. And then when I mention not even Bitcoin, but like Lightning, it's just, and I think that goes back to your point of complacency. It's like, if you just do a few steps, like Abraham Lincoln, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll take 4 to sharpen the axe. It's just like, if you just take a little bit of time to try and understand this new system and implement it, which it's becoming easier and easier, you're making your experience better. You're making customers' experience better. You're making it better for everybody. And
yeah.
and why aren't we doing it? It's the complacency aspect that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's that, and like I said, during COVID, I was amazed at just the amount of people that were just complacent um, with everything that was going on around them. Um, I was actually really surprised that Bitcoin didn't see a more mainstream adoption just from people. Um, but I guess that's part of the sheep mentality.
Mm.
Um, but then it also like if you ever done any like trips through like I've gone through like West Virginia before, like you going through a town that there might be like 200 people in it, and it's like a gas station off the highway, and they're still using. Do you remember the carbon copying of credit cards, like the machine they would put it in and chunk, 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 chunk. Yeah, they were still using one of those, and I was like, oh wow.
Oh, oh,
And it's people like that. It's like if you go to an airport, like say I was going to fly Southwest or Delta, I can download their app, I can check in with it, and I would have my boarding pass on my phone. Next time you're in an airport and you're during the boarding process, look at people and see how many people have paper tickets.
yeah.
It
We
blew
just
my mind.
we were just there. We just went through that whole experience, and it was just lightning quick.
Yeah, and it just like, but like just it's simple and it's easy. Yet someone would rather go uh, check in at the front at the airport, stand in line, get your tickets printed out, and then it's just even at this day and age, there's still people that don't use basic
Yeah,
technology to an advantage.
yeah, absolutely. And it's that learning curve. And I mean, I try and give, I try and see it from their perspective. Learning is hard. you know we have all our just mental scripts that we're going through, and then I want to check social media and just blank out and get the dopamine hit. So why would I learn something? That the high time preference mindset that kind of we're talking about here is,
Yeah,
if people were to just slow down, realize that there's more and better on the other side of learning, on the other side of taking a low time preference and putting in the work, the proof of work to get to the next step. That next step is so much greater, but we've made it so easy to stay where we are in that high time preference mindset. So speaking of sheep and high time preference mindset, what's your thoughts on ETFs?
um,
The Bitcoin ETF specifically,
yeah.
obviously.
I think they're overall a good thing. I guess it really depends on if there's any accountability ability ever applied to it, like do like
Like
the
proof
proof
of
of
reserves.
reserves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It, if but being well, you can look at all the fines throughout history companies have dealt with. But I mean, if you were a legitimate entity, you should have it. Now, whether or not they do, who knows? But as long
I've
as
seen
if it
some.
does hold true,
Yeah, I've
you have.
seen I've seen a few. I think IBIT, Fidelity, at least share, and I might be wrong on those, but share public addresses. And for those that
Oh
are new
wow,
to Bitcoin watching this, I mean, Bitcoin is an asset, but it's also a network. And really, what is the information being shared? It's a ledger. It's a ledger of who owns what. So if you're willing, if you're a company and you're willing, I mean, and you're in the money, you're in the business of making money and storing something for somebody else, like an ETF, it would behoove you to share those addresses. And if you share your public address, you're not sharing the ability for somebody to take it. That's the private keys. So why wouldn't it's that race to the bottom? It's like not only the race to lowering fees to get more people in, but it's also the race for trustworthiness. Like, if I'm going to store my money in an ETF, I'll be more likely to store it in an ETF that shares their addresses, that shows how much Bitcoin they have. So it's not just paper Bitcoin as much. I mean, I vacillate back and forth between ETFs are good, ETFs are bad. I agree with you, and it's good for number go up. Absolutely. It's not as good for all of the other properties that Bitcoin expresses, like
correct.
the censorship resistance, the immutability, the permissionlessness, you know. if there is a 6102 event where, like the gold confiscation, if the government tries to pull some shenanigans like that, where's the easiest place to grab that?
Oh yeah,
The ETFs, right?
yeah, yeah. I would think. Yeah, it would take something pretty serious to happen. I don't have a scenario, but I do think um, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist in the sense that I believe in the greed of man, and I believe
I don't think that's a conspiracy. I think that's just looking at
that's
history.
fact. But I believe it makes people corrupt. I believe our government's corrupt, politicians are corrupt, and I think they're being, they're ran by corporations. They're ran by lobbyist money.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so it goes down to who's really paying for the government. Who has the most politicians in its pocket, and with the kind of money that BlackRock has, I would think they got a pretty nice stack of people in their pocket to protect their interest at least. So something where like that happened, they would be um, financially okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of scenarios that could play out, and that's kind of one of the good things about Bitcoin is it's anti-fragile, and even if they take funds from somewhere, that doesn't destroy Bitcoin per se. It doesn't destroy the network. It doesn't. You can own all the Bitcoin in the world and still not have control of the rules of the network. So all in all, Bitcoin will still win out, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, on my mentioning a greed, I'm surprised something didn't play out when Bitcoin was much cheaper. Like when it had hit 20 grand and then got back down to like like $3,000. Um, like I envisioned a scenario that never happened, but if a couple big companies, like 5 or 6 large companies, came together in behind closed doors, something like Apple, Microsoft, people with billions of dollars of cash, you could have literally at that moment in time bought all the Bitcoin.
You could
And
have, yeah.
essentially, you would then inflate the price of your own asset. And then if you bought newly mined Bitcoin, you would set the floor level because you're not selling it. You're buying the new level. And the price could have went literally like to the moon.
They
And
could
it
have
would
they
just
could
be,
have pulled a mega micro strategy,
yes, yeah,
mega,
totally. Yes.
yeah. Well, to wrap it up here, Shannon, do you have any resources, anything you want to share with people new to Bitcoin out there? Obviously, go to your local meetups. What other resources do you find? You mentioned Twitter earlier. Like, how can we help the bit curious, if you will? Really.
Yeah, yeah, I would say the biggest thing is gosh, I would definitely get on Twitter. There's a lot of bad, but there's also a lot of good. So sifting through that noise is kind of part of the process. But generally, when you're reading stuff, you can pretty much tell if there's substance to it or if it's just someone's blowing hot air. Like like if you just did like hashtag Bitcoin right now on Twitter,
Yeah.
you would probably get like Bitcoin involved in about 100 tweets that have like ADA, ETH, Doge to the moon. Um, but then you'll come across and you'll read something where someone actually posts a thought or a link to an article about something happening in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Um, just sift through those. And once you find one good person, and that one good person is sending a solid signal of maybe it's not something you want to hear, but something you're at least interested to learn more about, and
Create
that
some
could be
cognitive
positive towards
dissonance. Yeah.
yeah, then follow that person, but also look to see who that person is following, and you can then sort through like not only their posts but their replies and see who they're replying to. And generally, people, unless they're in like an internet war battle with somebody. They're only replying to people that are echoing the same sentiment that they are. At least
Yeah.
it's someone that they have agreed with in their beliefs, and kind of just build up a small little baby echo chamber. And once you have about 4 or 5 people that you're following that you like the information it's coming from, it'll grow really quick from that. So Twitter is by far, because it's the same with YouTube. I can go to YouTube, search Bitcoin, and it's
to the moon, and you got those guys doing all that
yeah, you
stuff.
got that
Yeah, yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the
I love
and
that.
I know a lot of people aren't on Twitter, but it is a free resource, or you could pay for the blue check mark or whatever. But it's unbeatable. It's helped me understand Bitcoin in ways I never even. This have been like my understanding of Bitcoin today is pure science fiction from when I first joined Bitcoin in 2016. I had
Yeah.
no idea we'd get this. But now I'm still nowhere near the bottom, I think.
No, you got to
No.
go to kind of restate what you said. You got to, the rabbit hole begins with a single step, right? and and I
Yeah.
agree with you. That's kind of Twitter is the way I started. Shout out to Elon Musk. Maybe we can get Elon to retweet this. And, but yeah, no, absolutely. Start with people. My suggestion: start with Columbus Bitcoin. Find your local Bitcoin meetup. People get out there and learn. Do some low time preference work. And it is well worth it. Not just for the number of go up gains, just for the signal, like the understanding that you'll get a completely different shift in your worldview and how the world works. And it's so valuable. I mean, obviously, number gains are great, but it's the friends and the education that we get along the way that is the real growth, is the real benefit from Bitcoin.
Oh yeah,
Shannon,
definitely.
thank you so much for joining me. Do you got, besides Twitter, you have the Columbus Bitcoin handle? What is that again?
It's just at Columbus Bitcoin.
At
The
yeah, at
the Twitter handle.
yeah, Columbus Bitcoin. Also, Columbus Bitcoin PhD is what I got. Um,
Yeah.
you have a meetup page also. I'll put those in the show notes. Shannon, thank you for joining me on Zoom Out.
Oh, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you very much.